and welcome to today's session on letter writing. I'm Dr. Zohra Iqbal. Letter writing is the heart of written communication. It is the process of expressing, informing or persuading through text. Now the objectives of letter writing are many. Some important ones are: a letter bridges communication gap between two or more persons or parties. A letter can create awareness, inform or provoke a thought in the receiver or the masses. A well-written letter is a good way to express one's feelings. A heartfelt letter acts as a personal memoir and may be preserved by the receiver. Now, what is the aim of today's module? Today's module aims to teach the students the art of writing clear, precise and appropriate letters, which are suitable to the occasion and convey the exact meaning leading to enhanced communication. Lesson objectives are: on the completion of this module, the students will be able to identify situations and require formal letter writing, identify elements of a formal letter, understand essentials of good formal as well as informal letter content, and the students will be able to write letters. Now, what are letters? Letters are a form of verbal and written communication both, which contain information or messages sent by one party to another. They convey messages. It is sent by one party to another to provide certain important information. There are various types of letters. The two important ones are formal and informal. These are the two broad categories, we must say. The formal letter is written for business or professional purpose with a specific objective in mind. It uses simple language that can be easy to read and interpret. Informal letters are written to friends, to relatives for personal communication and use a casual or emotional tone. Now, the basic difference or comparison points between the two are: we begin with the objective. The objective of the formal letter is professional communication, whereas for the informal, it is personal communication. The format is different for both. Formal ones are written in prescribed formats only, whereas the informal have no prescribed format. The formal ones are written in first person when it is a business letter and in third person for the other types of letters. And the informal letters use the first, second or third person as the category may be. Then the formal letters are written for business, college or institute, for the employers, for the organizations, etc. And the informal ones are for family, friends and other acquaintances. Now, what kind of a voice is used or the grammar? Sentences are long and complex ones for the formal ones and short and simple for the informal letters. We use the voice which is passive generally for the formal ones and active voice for the informal ones. The size is concise for the formal ones and large and inconcise for the informal one. Contractions and abbreviations, they are avoided when we write formal letters, whereas we use them when we are using informal letter writing. What is the definition of a formal letter? A formal letter is any letter written in the professional language with a prescribed format for formal purposes. They are a recommendation letter or an inquiry or a complaint letter, business letters, they are all formal letters. What are the reasons for writing formal letters? Such letters are used for a variety of reasons, like formal invitations, proposals, references, making a complaint or an inquiry, applying for jobs. One must remember when we are writing formal letters that it should be in a specified format. It should avoid the use of unnecessary words, should be straight to the point, relevant and objective. It should not be complex but thorough. It should be polite even if it is a complaint letter. It should be free from any mistakes, grammatical or spellings. There are types of formal letters. They are broadly business letters, letters for outlining civil problems and the job applications. What are the elements of a formal letter? They are: we begin with the sender's address, then the date, receiver's address, subject, salutation, content specific to the point, meaning the content has to be absolutely relevant and to the point. Then there are concluding lines, complimentary closure and the signature along with the designation or title. To go into the detail of this format, we begin with the contact information. It includes your contact information unless you are writing on letterhead that already includes it. This includes your name, address, city, state, phone number and email address. Then comes the date. There are ways of writing formally how we write the dates. Then the contact information, the person or company you are writing to, his name, title, company, address, city or state. Then comes greetings, that are salutations as we call them. There are various ways. The examples are given as Mr., Ms. or the last name. Use a formal salutation, not the first name, unless you know the person very well, as Dear Mr. Singh or Dear Ms. Singh, and as Dear Rohit Singh if you know the person very well. Then comes the body of the letter. We have cut them into paragraphs. The first paragraph of your letter should provide an introduction as to why are you writing this letter. The reason for contacting the person is obviously in the beginning. Then the following paragraphs provide specific information, specific details about your request or any other information that you want to provide. The last paragraph of the body of your letter should reiterate the reason you are writing or thanking the reader for reviewing your request. If appropriate, it should also be politely asked for a written response or for an opportunity to arrange a meeting or further discussion of the situation. Then comes the closing. It is always with best regards. Then we have the signature, handwritten signatures for a hard copy letter or black or blue ink to be used to sign the letter. And then we have the typed signatures also. I've given a template here in order to readily refer to it whenever it is required. Then we come to the definition of informal letters. What are informal letters? An informal letter is a letter written to someone you know very well. The letter can be used for many reasons, like conveying message, news, giving advice, congratulating, requesting, asking questions, etc. It's a personal letter, written to whom you are familiar with, like friends, siblings, parents, or any other person who's close to you. There are fewer formatting rules for informal letters than there are for business or for formal letters. Why do we write informal letters? The letter can be used for some reasons, like conveying the message, a news, giving advice, congratulating as I said. Then it's a personal letter to whomsoever you are absolutely familiar with. We write, we convey the information, we convey the emotions. While writing an informal letter, one can afford to be friendly and make use of personal or emotional tone also. Slang or colloquial terms, codes or abbreviations can also be used at the time of writing, depending on the familiarity of the recipient to whom you are writing. Now, similar to the formal ones, the informal letters also have some elements. They are the sender's address, date, salutation, content which can be long as well as detailed, concluding line, complimentary closure, signature line. Another template is here to refer to in case of informal letters. These are for ready reference. What are the tips for writing an informal letter? Write as you are speaking to the reader in person. Do not hesitate in adopting your personal style while writing to friends or relatives. Add Mr., Mrs., Ms. Post to the word dear when writing to an important person. Always start with a good or interesting news you want to share so that the reader feels positively associated with you. As there is no defined or set length of an informal letter, try to keep it within a page or a page and a half. Maintain a logical order while expressing ideas or replying to somebody's queries. What are the differences between formal and informal letters? A formal letter is one written in formal language, of course, in the stipulated format for official purpose, whereas informal letters, they are said to be informal when it is written in a friendly manner to someone you are familiar with. Then the formal letters are written for official or professional communication, whereas the informal ones are written for casual or personal communication. There is a format prescribed for writing formal letters, as opposed to the informal ones where we do not have to follow a particular format. Formal letters are usually written in third person, but for business letters we do write it in first person also, whereas the informal ones, they are written in the first, second or third person as required. The formal letters are used for writing letters to business partners, to suppliers, to customers, to clients, to professionals, to institutes, to employers, and the informal ones are written to friends, relatives, acquaintances, etc. While writing formal letters, we use passive voice, whereas for the informal ones, we use the imperative voice or the active voice also. The sentence we use at the time of writing a formal letter, they can be long and complex too, whereas the informal letters have shorter sentences. The size of the formal letter should be concise. That does not include irrelevant matter at all, whereas the informal letters can be large also. Formal letters do not include contractions like didn't or can't and abbreviations, rather it uses full forms every time. As against the informal ones, they make use of contractions, abbreviations, idioms, phrasal verbs and even slang in colloquial language. What are the key points we should remember for writing better letters? First of all, select correct words. Words are the writer's tools and the writer needs to put the right word at the right expression and for the right use. Precision should be there. It should, however, be remembered that right words become relevant only in the right context. For example, an emotional or flowery language has to be fully avoided in a business letter. Then letters should be to the point. The content should be absolutely to the point. Nothing more is harmful to good communication than confused state, which may result in not communicating or conveying the exact point. Before writing a letter, one should be sure of what one wants to convey. All the facts and methodically put, they express the feelings very well. One should not be vague about objectives. Conciseness is another good quality. Formal letters must be concise. In formal letters, especially, one must not write unnecessary or irrelevant details. Long illustrations, elaborations should be avoided. Courtesy. A letter reveals its writer's personality and character. One must remember this. One must remain totally professional while writing a letter, especially the formal letters. Even while writing a complaint letter, care should be taken that it is not in an uncivilized language. Good judgment determines what and how a point has to be conveyed. Correct use of punctuation marks is another important thing. Use of punctuation marks, use of capital letters, commas or colons in the correct place give effectiveness to the writing. Style is another important thing we must remember. The conversational style is the most suitable one for letter writing. It is best to write in a simple and clear style, maintaining a logical sequence of ideas. Every sentence should grow out of the preceding one. There should be no abrupt jumping from one idea to the other. That's about all the information about letter writings that one must know. Whereas the templates are already given for ready reference, you should keep in mind all the elements that are put in this lesson. Thank you.